Within 12 years, starting in 2010, the incredible screenwriters of The Walking Dead were able to produce a masterpiece composed of 177 episodes and 11 seasons. My name is William Kalmbach, and in today's podcast, I will be reviewing the American horror drama television series The Walking Dead. First things first, it originated as a series of comic books written by Robert Kirkman. This name may sound familiar because he also wrote the comic books of Invincible with Omni-Man and Invincible himself. He published his first Walking Dead comic book in 2003, and 7 years later, Frank Darabont, the first screenwriter of the show, was able to adapt the comics into a successful and iconic TV show. I originally started watching The Walking Dead sometime in the spring of 2021, and have rewatched it at least 3 times since. I also have Walking Dead wall art in my room, I have a replica weapon of one of my favorite characters in the show, and I own and have read all 4 comic book compendiums. Something worth noting about these compendiums is how they contain a little over 1,000 pages each. The very first thing I want to cover in this podcast is how this show isn't for everyone. It's one of the most binge-worthy shows, but if you're someone with a weak stomach, this show simply isn't for you. The amount of gore and blood shown is the reason why it is the 3rd most gory TV show according to IMDb. Although it can be hard to watch at first, I guarantee you will gain some sort of desensitization to it as you watch. The screenwriters have this because it adds to the overall realism of the series and makes it feel like a true apocalyptic zombie show. If this factor wasn't taken into consideration, the show most definitely wouldn't be as successful as it is. It also shows the harsh reality of living in this cruel world they were forced to survive in. Speaking of cruelty, every major villain in the show contributes a lot to the story and the development of the characters because none of the villains were poorly written. In addition to the weapon and gun violence, explosions, and general action, there are also beautifully crafted, heartfelt moments that can make the audience feel sympathetic for the characters simply because a majority of the acting looks and feels genuine, as if something truly significant happened. In fact, one of the most important things a TV show can provide for the viewers are characters that we can feel various emotions for. The screenwriters did a great job at this because almost every character that survives for a while gets a character arc that fits the struggles that occur while living in this insane world. You may not realize it whilst watching the show, but looking back at their journey, you'll completely understand how and why they changed. One of the most developed characters in the show, Carol, started off as an abused housewife and changed into a merciless, cold-blooded killer. The main character, Rick Grimes, by far has the best character development out of any character in the show and is possibly one of the greatest protagonists of all time. His journey started as the sheriff of a small town who transformed into this degenerate murderer who was only trying to keep himself and his family alive. Around the 1.5 year mark into the apocalypse, he had become the most feared survivor who didn't care who or how he had to kill because everything he did was to protect the group. Before we move forward, I'd like to take a quick break and thank AMC for sponsoring today's podcast. Not only are they the main streaming network for The Walking Dead, they are also the main streaming network for the popular shows Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. They have a wide variety of TV shows and underrated movies that you, friends, and family can enjoy together. For only $8.99 a month, you can get AMC Plus and experience hours of entertainment with uninterrupted watching. Without further ado, let's continue on with the podcast. The most infamous villain, Negan, has one of the most intricate character arcs within the show, and I think it's important to not reveal too much about him because of everything that he did for the storyline, but I think it's still worth noting one of his most overlooked scenes.
But what I don't get is after all these years, you still think I'm the bad guy. I'm not. No one is. Well, you know what, Maggie? Maybe everyone is. Ask yourself one question. How many husbands and fathers have you killed?
Although this scene happens in one of the spin-off shows, it still provides a whole new thought process about the world that we never really got to see in the main show because we only watch it from the point of view of the main group. This next part of the podcast is going to be a bit opinionated, but that is because it is about my favorite season and what I personally believe is the best season of the show, that being Season 5. In Season 5, we see every character face the mental and physical struggle of living in the apocalypse, and we visibly see how worn out and exhausted the group is. The journey of everyone in the group looks outstanding when contrasting them to Now and Then. The cinematography is fantastic, the action is remarkable, and the overall atmosphere of the season is different from the rest. The season is also when The Walking Dead had its peak amount of viewers, and this single-handedly should show how great the season truly is. The group found multiple places of solace, with one being the most prominent and memorable location for the rest of the franchise. Not only does the season begin with everyone at their lowest, but it ends with everyone looking forward to the future. All of these aspects alone should really indicate how good the season is, and how it's different from the rest. After everything that I've covered in today's podcast, I just want to quickly thank all of you for being here and listening. The next podcast will come out a week from today, so make sure to be there and check it out.